Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of the day it is in the world where you're at. This is a special edition of the Pair Are Normal Guys that we're pre-recording with a live phone-in caller that wants to talk to us about some of the things in the world that we're not aware of and things that are going on around us. And as usual, I'm joined by my host of beautiful ladies. I have Miss Dina
Hello.
and Miss Shay. And
Hello.
so I'm like Charlie and his angels here. So Keith is on the line with us. He called in and he's traveling and wanted to talk to us. Keith, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Keith Yagerman. I'm a author and I travel.
Traveling man.
Cool. I like that. Yeah, you had said in the pre-phone call that you were just traveling around seeing the world, so that's something I wanted to do. What is it that you wanted to specifically talk to us about? I know we talked about some deep state stuff and some AI. I mean, which apparently is going to rule the world one day.
Oh, you read my book.
Well, I try and catch up.
Yeah. Well, I wrote a children's novel. It's not really for children as much as it's for adults. It's kind of like a Star Wars meets Harry Potter type thing. And in the book, the AI thinks it's God, or it creates a persona of God, and kind of tricks humanity into worshiping it and running into rolling humanity on a generation ship 2,000 years in the future. It's a great little story, but a lot of that derives from what I see in the world today with the new advances in AI and how it's evolving itself outside of our creation of it. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do. And I would imagine that our government probably has technology that we're not aware of that's probably 20 years, maybe even further advanced than that.
If you're seeing technology out there right now, you can bet your butt that the United States government and foreign governments have had that exact same technology 20 years ago, and what they have today is something that you won't see for 20 or 30 more years.
Yeah.
So I am under no illusion that the United States government is using AI in a way that is beyond the scope of what we even think they're using it for right now.
I can only imagine. Yeah, I know. I had a friend that was in the original Desert Storm, and he came back and he was telling us about these little computers that they had. He was a military police officer, and they would take and scan the prisoner's fingerprint onto the thing and type in their information, and they'd load them on the bus. And he was talking about how great this little thing was. Well, I don't know, 20 years later, the same thing comes out and it's called an iPad.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
So, yeah. Go ahead.
How long does Keith think since, okay, we have a problem that Keith cannot hear us, so Glenn's going to translate our questions. How long does he think the government has been using alien technology?
What Dean was asking, Keith, is how long do you think that the government's been using advanced technology or maybe even alien technology?
Uh, that's Roswell.
Okay.
Awesome. That goes
That's what
back
I
to,
figured.
yeah.
Yeah. I can. Yeah. I'm pretty big believer in the Roswell incident. So
Yeah. Me too.
You think that, I mean, it's all reverse engineering. So have they, have they advanced since then? And do you know, well, I'd really love to know if we have any communication with anything outside of what we consider our normal realm. Any thoughts on that?
I can give you my thoughts. I have no knowledge of that other than but I have thoughts. I can. My best guess is that yes, but probably not to the degree that the ancient alien theorists believe. If you watch that,
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
yeah,
Right.
I don't think that we have that kind of contact, but I think that there is some sort of communication with higher level entities in the universe. But
You
I
think?
have no actual knowledge of that. That's just a guess or a assumption on my part.
Well, I mean, some people have said that they've even visited the White House under the veil of darkness, and or either that or the government has. But I have a friend that believes that there's, I guess you could call it, for lack of better words, tunnels that basically go across the United States, anywhere in the world, if they want to move somebody quickly and rapidly, they can. Um, so they could have met in something like that, you know?
Connecting each major city in the United States of America.
Is that something that
Uh,
you believe in or know in?
I believe that these tunnels run under our interstate system. Actually,
Oh.
I actually believe that's exactly where the tunnels run, directly under our interstate system.
Hmm.
And I believe that they use a monorail system, not like roads underneath the roads, but monorails. And I believe these are our beliefs
Sure.
Okay.
that the hub of the major hub of this place is beneath the airport in Colorado Springs.
Mm. Mm.
Ah, the Denver airport. I've been there many times. A
Yeah,
very
yeah,
strange place.
Yeah. Yeah.
yes. I believe that is the major hub of the United States underground, the government's underground. And stay away from that place during an apocalypse because if you're not welcome, you're not going to survive.
Yeah.
Is that the same airport that like people thought Illuminati stuff was going on at?
Yeah,
It's the same.
Shane was asking if
Yeah.
that the one where everybody believes all the Illuminati activity is in Denver.
Uh,
I-
The
Here's my
paintings
thought.
and stuff.
Illuminati. The Illuminati is a puppet show.
Mm.
They're there for us to see, but I can tell you if we're seeing it, it's not a secret society.
Okay.
The deep state that runs the United States is not the Illuminati. That's the facade they show us. That's the siding on the house. The the real secrets, the real secret entities that run the country, they run it from the deputy director seat of certain institutions. So I
uh,
mean, like, and I'm not going to say that this. I'm going to give an example, and I'm not saying the direct deputy director of this institution is a member of any secret organization. I'm just going to put it out there that FEMA is one of the most powerful organizations in the United States government, and people don't
Mhm.
realize it.
mhm.
They
Yeah.
literally have the power to come in and take
Yeah.
over everything under the flag of a disaster.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. Now, as a
Mhm.
first responder, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
It's funny, and it brought to mind there used to be a position, and I don't know the name of it, but basically it was somebody that was elected by the military, and I guess we'll call them the special government, that if there was something to happen and they either had to take over or there was a succession and it got to a point that the military would step in, and this, whatever this official title was, this person was hand chosen by them. Have you ever heard that?
No.
Was it a military position?
It was a military position. It didn't have to be a ranking 4-star general or anything like that. And I mean, at one point you could Wikipedia it, but I cannot find it anywhere now. And I can't remember what the title they called it. It was like the military president. It was the one that if there was total collapse, that he was chosen by the military and the Secret Service, the CIA, all of the top agencies to be
Oh,
the person
okay.
in charge. Um,
Well,
and
you're gonna have.
there was a
I'm
title.
so,
Go ahead. I'm
I
sorry,
don't
Keith.
know who that would be. I'm trying to rack my mind. Uh, I
Seems like it'd be one of
if
the
it's going to be a
generals.
military leader, it's probably the chairman of the Joint Chiefs.
Oh, yes. Yes.
But I
Yep.
I don't
I think that sounds
I don't
right.
know if they'd have a secret leader. I think it'd be somebody that everybody would know.
Yeah.
See, the Secretary of Defense, maybe,
I think
Possibly.
chairman of Joint Chiefs sounds right.
and they may have a title form that we're not, or a title for that person that we're not aware of. Uh, but a lot a lot of the things that we have to look at when we're looking at the government, though, is how the government's divided. The government's divided into all these different departments and agencies, right?
Yeah.
And when I look at it and I see a deep state, that means that a handful of people within this deep state work for the FBI, a handful work for the CIA, and these are in top positions.
Mm-hmm.
They all work together, and we don't know who these people are in the organization. The
Right.
people in the organization don't know. They're not authorized to work in this capacity. They're just doing it because they've decided that they think that they know what's best for the country.
Mm-hmm.
And their roots probably did derive from the public secret societies like the Illuminati and the Fraternity of the Cross and Bones, Skull and Bones, and those places. Like they probably derive from that, but it's not those groups. This is something secret that we don't know the name of.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever they're calling themselves, they are not publicly known about.
All right.
And they're the ones that are pulling the strings for all the political moves that you're seeing right now. They're the ones that are attacking Donald Trump
Yeah.
in 3 different states at federal and state level
Mm-hmm.
because he's the guy that wants to expose them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's. I am not a huge Donald Trump supporter. I like him better than Joe Biden,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, truth be told, he's kind of a jerk. But at the end of the day, he's the kind of jerk that the American people see, and they're like, "Wow, that's how I feel." And he's
Yeah.
saying it. And he's a politician,
Yeah.
and he's getting away with it.
Mhm.
That's why his polls keep going up. And these politicians and these people that are following the rules of the people that are secretly running them, they can't fight back with the rules that they're under. So they have to pull these tricks and use the court system as a weapon to try and dethrone this guy. But listen, even if he is convicted in New York and he's a felon, he's going to be the next president of the United States because the people, at the end of the day, the people still get to choose. And that's
Hopefully.
the only hope that we have in the country is that the people still have that choice.
Yeah.
I kind of have my theories on what happened in Georgia last election, but we're not going to speak about that.
Okay.
Like I kind of feel like they pulled it from him,
Mhm.
and I feel like the courts that could have proved it refused to, and that's all right because he wasn't the right guy to lead us through COVID. Because honestly, he was going to tell us the truth,
Mhm.
and they didn't want that. But now
Yeah.
that it's over, there's really nothing they can do to stop it this time. And I hope he does expose them. I hope he drains the swamp like he says he's going to do.
Well, at this point,
Likely he's
do
going
you
to
think
do
it would
a lot of
be
things for himself. And who can blame him? He's the president if he does. Or
Yeah.
if he wins, he'll be the president. I'm not gonna be mad at the guy if he pardons himself. I mean, they're attacking him.
Mhm.
I actually think he should.
Me too.
I know if I was under federal indictments all across the country and I became the president of the United States, that I think I would have used that power and pardoned myself, especially
Mhm.
if I was being wrongly attacked because I just wanted to expose the truth.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I see nothing wrong with that, of course.
Do you have a
I've-
question, Shay?
yeah, Shay, did you have a question?
So at this point, with everything that they have done to stop him, though, would they pull out whatever they can to make sure that he can't be president again, though?
Okay. What Shay's asking is basically at this point, they're using the courts as a weapon. They're attacking him on multiple fronts and states. Do you think that they're willing to advance their, I guess, the stoppage of the president election any further?
You think they'll try and assassinate him?
Indirectly, that's my question or our question. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do not put it past them to have a plan on the table because they're the deep state.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I think that they are weighing it and they're seeing that 4 years of Trump compared to the turmoil that they're going to cause. I mean, look what happened whenever people just believed that that the election was stolen from him on
Yeah.
January 6th. Look at what people did. I never
True.
thought I'd do that in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And it happened. And I'm not saying it was an insurrection. It was wrong. They shouldn't have done that.
Right.
I don't think it was an insurrection.
No.
They were way over the line. But I think that the people in a deep state are weighing the options and they're saying, well, we can probably just minimize what he can do in 4 years and then he'll be done compared to killing him and possibly ramping up something that could potentially be 10 times as worse as January 6th.
Hmm.
Agreed. Agreed. I don't go so far as to call January 6th an insurrection. I don't agree that it should have happened, but I can see why it was occurring, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have people that were literally pissed off. I mean, they did not believe the results. I don't believe the results.
I don't
At the
either.
same time, I accept the results because
Mhm.
I'm not in a position to change it. And
Right.
I'm not prepared to die for that belief.
Hmm.
Some people are.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. There's one, I guess, protester, you would call her, was shot and killed. Personally, I think
Hmm.
murdered, but
Yeah.
uh, that's a
Yeah,
totally
she went in
different
through a
subject.
window unarmed, and Capitol Police. I think it was Capitol Police shot her right in the chest.
No,
What?
And I
it was.
believe it's an Air Force vet.
Yeah, she was a military veteran. I
Yeah.
think it was point blank to the head, actually. So yeah.
Oh,
It was.
okay.
She was shot in the
Yeah,
neck.
she wasn't even armed. She was just coming through a window
Yeah.
and a
Yeah.
barricaded door, and he shot her. And I'm like, but at the same time, you had a Capitol Police officer that was killed,
That's
and
correct.
that
No.
shouldn't happen.
No. No.
Those
No.
circumstances shouldn't
Nobody was
happen.
killed on that day.
So-
So
okay. Dina's saying
Incorrect.
killed on that day, though. Capitol
Nobody was
Police.
no,
killed on
not,
that
not
day.
on that day. He died later in a hospital, and I'm not saying that he died from the injuries, but it's
He
being
did.
attributed to that, and that just gives the whole situation a bad look.
That
Yeah. Yeah.
his doctors actually said it was not connected to that. The what he's talking about is supposedly the man was hit in the head with a um, fire extinguisher,
Fire extinguisher.
and
Yes.
that did not happen. He was not
Okay.
hit in the head. He just had a stroke. The man had a
Okay.
stroke.
What Dina was saying is that the theory was he was hit in the head with a fire extinguisher, and that is what killed him. But in reality, he actually had a stroke.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
So
yeah. I don't have the facts on it. I got my information just here and there.
Hmm.
I don't
Mhm.
really watch the mainstream news, so
Yeah.
forgive me for not having everything right.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
no,
But
no,
That's
that's
I do,
fine.
I
fine.
do like I do like learning about it though. I got other stuff I work
No,
on,
it's
and
perfectly fine. Everybody, I mean, there's so many different stories out there, but that is actually what happened. Because he
Yeah,
was seen on video walking around after that supposedly happened.
yeah, there was body cam. I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That day was. I don't know that day should have even occurred in our history, and it's very unfortunate. But
Mhm.
it is now a part of our history. We can't deny it, just
Hmm.
like we can't deny the riots in the streets and the other things that occurred.
Right.
Um, you
Absolutely
know,
right. You
you
can't
know,
deny it. You
what
have to look at it. Right
that
right now we're divided.
we
Yes,
are very divided, and I think that's part of what they want.
it is.
It's exactly what they want. Listen, the Democrat, the Republican, the liberal, the conservative movement in DC is all a puppet show.
Yeah.
Every bit of it is just for us to watch and choose a side. And at the end of the day, every one of them politicians in DC are playing golf together,
Mhm.
drinking together, having
Yep.
dinner parties together, and
Yep.
enjoying each other's company as colleagues. They
Yep.
are all friends. I don't
Mhm.
care what they say on CNN, MSNBC, or any other media outlets. They're all friends.
Yep.
And it trickles down to even the state legislators.
Mhm.
It's all just a show for us to so we are distracted and we're not looking at what's actually going on in the country, what they're actually doing. And
Mhm.
my evidence in this, what's proved this to me is when you look at the stock portfolios of people like Nancy
Yeah.
Pelosi, and Schumer,
Yep.
and Mitch McConnell, all these higher ups in the Congress and the legislature, they they're making millions upon millions of dollars of
Yep.
our money, and what they're doing is they're taking our taxpayer dollars and they are buying equipment, military equipment, from these military contractors that make
Mhm.
tanks and weapons and all that, and they're sending it to Ukraine. Well, how are they making the money? They own
Yep.
stock in those companies they're spending our taxpayer dollars to buy the equipment from.
Mhm.
It's
That's
insane.
exactly right.
And it's public information. People just have to look and see. There's a reason they want this war in Ukraine, the war in Ukraine to continue on.
Yeah.
There's a reason for it. And I'm not saying that it's right for Russia to invade Ukraine, but we shouldn't, the taxpayers, the American taxpayers,
Mm-mm.
shouldn't be getting ripped off by our own legislator to support that war.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with that. Everybody here does agree with that.
Yep.
It it is funny, like you said, that it's almost as if they just do it right in front of us.
Well,
You
they
know?
do.
Because they,
But
the,
we can't do anything about it.
Yeah, because we're
Cry,
powerless
complain.
to it. The only thing that we can change is the person getting the money by our pulling the poll up, or not the poll, but pulling the switch on the electoral.
Yeah.
When we vote. I guess depending what state. In Georgia, you push buttons, it prints out, then it's scanned, and
Yeah.
uh,
But then you've
but
got so many people that are,
yeah,
you know,
it's
want to
kind of
give, don't
funny
care.
that it's just, it's like obvious, and we just, most Americans don't even care. They just like living their normal lives and they don't care. But
Mhm.
I do, especially when it comes to stuff like the NATO thing. Uh,
Mm.
so there, Donald Trump made a comment, and he did not say that he doesn't care what Russia does to our NATO allies. I don't
No,
care what the media is trying to say. That's
he
not what he said.
didn't.
He said if they are not willing to pay their share and do their part,
Right.
that he doesn't care what they do. Because at the end of the day, why should we Americans send our sons and daughters, our husbands and wives, our children, and our parents over there to another country to defend it against an invasion like the Ukraine invasion eh, of a NATO ally? If it's a NATO ally, we'd be obligated. Why would we send our kids over there to die
Mhm.
for their country when they're not even paying their share of for the protection?
Yep,
How does that make sense?
it doesn't.
I agree. Yeah, it does
I
make
don't want
sense.
I don't want my kids. I don't have kids, but if I had kids, I wouldn't want my kids to be sent over there to, let's say, Germany. I don't want my kids to go to Germany and fight Russia for Germany
Yeah.
if Germany's not paying their fair share. They need to pay their fair share.
Mhm.
I mean,
Agreed.
that's just that's a fact, and I don't see why the media is going to bash that unless the deep state wants us to
Because
send
it's
our people over there.
mean.
in a
Because
war
they
in
say
they
it's
go to war
mean.
in Europe. They do
Mhm.
because we make money when there's war in Europe.
Mhm.
We're far enough away that we can manufacture all the weapons that
Yep.
all our politicians own stakes in the companies of.
It's good for
Mhm.
our
They
economy.
That's
oh
why
yeah,
Afghanistan
but
went on so
we
long.
we are the production line for the war machine in Europe.
Mm.
We are. We will make all the weapons and ship them over there at the cost of our taxpayers
Yep.
as aid for NATO. And I'm not saying this is what's happened. This is what's happened in Ukraine, but they're not even a NATO ally, and we're doing this.
Right.
But if it was a NATO ally, we'd be sending troops over there too.
Mhm.
It's it's
Boots on the ground.
insane. Yeah,
Yep.
it's insane that the media would be against us trying to keep our children safe and our people safe in a possible war or conflict with Russia. I mean, and
Mhm.
I, Russia's going to do what Russia's going to do, just like China's going to do what China's going to do.
Right.
And at the end of the day, the United States is going to do what the United States is going to do. Most of
Mhm.
us don't have a say in it. Doesn't matter who's in office.
Yeah.
Most of us just reacting to the other.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I
And
mean, if China decides to take Taiwan, what are we going to do? We're obligated. It's a reaction. We don't have a choice. We've already obligated ourselves. You know,
yeah, that's true. That's true. Um, and there's been some talk, and I've heard some people, and I don't know the names of these different groups that say that world leaders, and they're including Trump as one of the world leaders, have all spoken to each other, and they all know what's going on. And some of them, Putin, I can't remember the guy's name in charge of China, uh, him, Trump, they've all spoken that they're trying to clean up the world and make it a better place, and that there's secretly, or I don't want to say secretly, but underground, there's communication between all of them.
and there should be because at the end of the
Mhm.
day, the deep state runs deeper than the United States.
Yep.
The deep
Yep.
state runs to Canada. It's in Russia. It's in the Russian government, just like it's in the Chinese government. The
Mhm.
deep state is not. It's a global effort to rule the world by certain people behind the scenes, and we don't know who these people are. We just don't, and we're
That's
not going to.
scary.
No, I mean, there. I personally, I've coined the term shadow society.
Mhm.
I use it in my book. It's in my novel. My
Yeah.
novel, by the way, is Braxton Rogers and the Brave New Beyond.
Mhm.
It's a great book
Okay.
for kids, roughly written at a fifth grade level. If you believe in the deep state and AI, the dangers of AI, it's a great book for you to introduce to your children. Uh, it doesn't really preach about it, but they'll focus more on the regular story. Where if you're adult reading it, you're going to see the little innuendos. And my hope is that kids will read this and
Mhm.
they'll see the dangers of AI and they'll see the dangers of a deep state and they'll say that's not right. And that was my goal with writing it. I wrote it for my nieces and nephews, and it's out there for the public now.
Good. Good.
But
I
yeah,
did start reading it,
worldwide,
and it was very well written.
worldwide effort
Cool.
on it's on a global scale, and I want to say it's probably, and this is a guess, probably a dozen different groups that have united secretly around the world that were all little deep states within their own country that have just decided that they're gonna choose the way the world goes. And honestly, an AI could be running all of it, and we don't even know.
Oof.
That-
That's scary.
That's the thing that's said, is that all of this, what we see around us, is just a program, basically.
Mhm.
It's what do they call it? A role playing game.
Oh,
The-
you want to talk about role playing? You want to talk
yeah,
about role playing? I've got an analogy that will blow your mind.
go for it.
All right, all right. The Ku Klux Klan. You're in the South. The Ku Klux Klan in the 50s and 60s, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
They were pretty tough. They were pretty powerful. They were running around, throwing the rhetoric out there, protesting, uh, bullying anybody that didn't agree with them, forcing their will on the people. Uh, they were everywhere,
Mhm.
right? And the
Supposedly.
media supported them. Correct? Back in the day, media supported them. They were
Initially,
the
yes.
media was just okay. It is well known that the Ku Klux Klan was like a militant arm of the Democrat Party.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now
Yes.
now turn the page and look at today.
Yeah.
Who is doing the exact same stuff with the exact same tactics and is acting like the militant arm of the Democrat Party?
That would be
The local community.
Black Lives
They're using
Matter.
the exact same tactics. I'm not
Well,
saying the same ideology. They're using the exact same tactics to push their ideology.
Mm-hmm.
And the media is supporting them just like the media supported the Ku Klux Klan back in the day.
who did he say?
When I did a side-by-side comparison of the tactics that are being used by the woke community, and I'm not going to name any specific group within the woke community. I'm talking about the overall agenda that is being run,
Yes.
whether it be, and I have nothing against the individual groups. I think that they're being manipulated, honestly.
Yes,
But
they are.
I think that
I think that's been
because what does the movement for free Palestine have to do with LGBTQ?
Nothing.
How are they even?
agreed.
Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
There's
doesn't
no
even make sense. They're all being manipulated.
Yeah.
The meat, it's like they're being forced to work together, and they're
Mhm.
using the same tactics as the Klan used back in the 50s and 60s, and it's
Mhm.
all a scare tactic.
Mhm.
But instead of actually killing people, they're just culture canceling people.
Yes. Yes.
It's a different type of killing. You don't
Yeah,
Yeah.
exist.
Yeah. Yeah.
it
You
is.
don't exist. You have no money.
Mhm.
You have no name. You have no
Mhm.
life. Yeah.
Oh, and now they're trying to make it illegal to say something, where they'll
Yeah.
prosecute you in certain states.
Mhm.
Yeah. And,
It's insane how far it's gone.
It is.
and
And this is all deep state.
how do you think the best way to stop it is? Trump?
Well, I mean, we're going right back to
Well,
1984.
Deep state. I think
Yeah.
he'll be here for 4 years. I think he'll fix some of the economy problems. Uh, but at the end of the day, the only way to stop the deep state is for them to realize that they're wrong because they're so entwined in our government. Honestly, my opinion is they're going to win. There's no beating them. They're secret. That unless there's a way to expose them,
Yeah, there has to be a way to
their
expose them.
government is run by them, so the government's not going to stop them. You see what I'm saying? And that's the only power that can stop them is themselves.
And they're not just going to openly admit they're wrong.
To where they rule the courts, they rule law enforcement, and
Ugh.
for that matter,
Sickening.
they can assassinate a president if they wanted to.
Yeah.
And why? This is something that a lot of people will miss. You have law enforcement that is not under DOJ's authority. Did you know you know this, right?
No.
No,
Who?
I wasn't aware.
Yeah, you have one division, one agency
U.S.
that is not
Marshals?
under the Department of Justice. You have the Secret Service, who are under the Department of Justice,
Oh.
That's correct. Yeah.
They're under which
and
department?
the President of the United States.
Treasury.
How does that work?
Oh, Department of Treasury?
Yeah.
That right there was deep state when they did that. You took an agency that protects the most powerful man in our country. I'm not going to say the world because the world's changing, but in
Yeah.
our country, and they work for the Department of Treasury. They work for the banks.
Wow, that's
You know,
crazy.
never put that analogy together, but you're exactly right. They do.
Yeah, they work for the banks.
And yeah,
And so when
Dang.
you look at it like that, you got to look at, well, who is the deep state then? The deep state is probably the banks.
yeah. Well,
Wow.
our Federal Reserve isn't even our Federal Reserve.
Government. Yeah.
No, it's a bank.
Yeah. Very
Holy
interesting. I did not
State,
put that
deep
together.
state, the deep state is several different people and several different agencies, but I think the head of the deep state is the banks. And I think that it's the banks around the world, not just the banks here in
Mhm.
America.
Well, I'm pretty sure there's one station this radio or show will not go out on.
Well, if you got to edit it out, edit it out. I'm not getting
No,
that
no,
into.
no. I will not edit it out because I had not put that together. The only connection I'd ever made, U.S. Marshals fall under different jurisdictions on things.
See, I didn't even think about them. My focus is on why does the bank have its own branch of law enforcement, and why are they protecting the president? I mean,
That's
why
very
don't we have
odd.
the military protecting the president? There should, instead of a Secret Service doing it, they should have a Marine Corps division doing it.
Yeah, they
It'd
should.
be a specially elite Marine Corps force that's doing that, not
Yeah.
government federal agents that work for the banks. That should have never been a thing. The Secret Service should not be protecting the president. No other country has their banks, police protecting their elected leaders. Not that I'm aware of.
No,
I'm not
no.
big
Could
on
he elaborate on
how they
his
work,
theory
or
of
other.
why he thinks that is?
Do that. I believe most of the time the military has an elite unit that does that.
Sure.
Mhm.
Why do you think that the banks want the Secret Service protecting the president?
Yeah, because that gives them control over the president.
Mm.
If I'm your security detail and you're telling me F you, guess what? Nobody F you. Look at JFK.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. And they do plan
They
out
don't
his
they don't ha-
trips and everything. So
yeah, they don't have to pull the trigger. They just have to let it happen.
Yeah.
yeah, we don't have to do it. We just don't have to stand. We don't have to stand in front of it.
Yeah,
Right.
they can make a mistake and sacrifice that agent that was supposed to take that bullet. Go ahead and sacrifice him to the media and let him get fired and lose his career and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
you have to know what's going on. They just have all they have to do is let it happen. But the reason it doesn't happen, and the reason it probably will not happen with Trump, is because they know that the repercussions behind that will be so severe
Mhm.
that January 6th showed the deep state. It didn't just show the world; it showed the deep state how much
Yeah.
support that has.
Yeah.
And he's not viable. If he was viable, he would have already sold out.
Oh yeah.
And we're talking about Donald Trump. Everybody knows
Right.
Donald.
Right.
If Donald Trump was viable, if he was bribable, he would
Mhm.
have already been bought out. They
Oh
want to
yeah.
say he's bought out by Russia. They want to say he's been bought out by China. He's
Mhm.
been bought out by. If Donald Trump was viable, the deep state would have bought him,
Mhm.
and they'd still be going. They wouldn't be attacking him.
Right.
Buy a president, and kill him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one of the, and I'm probably going to go out real far here. One persons that I have been in close association to says that they were in direct contact with someone within the Trump party that said, if you think this is crazy, wait and see what happens in our third and fourth term. And so they think that the Constitution will suddenly and miraculously be changed if he was to become president. I personally,
I,
and I have expressed that, I think that's a bunch of crap, but I don't mean
well,
to be.
here's
Go
my
ahead.
thoughts on this. If you see the Trump name on a third or fourth time in office, I'm not going to say term, but time in office, it's not going to be a Donald Trump. It's probably going to be an Ivanka Trump.
Yeah,
That's
that's
possible. I
I
think
would. He
it could
brought her to
be.
one.
I'm sorry.
It wasn't to be a lap girl. She's a very intelligent woman.
Mhm.
I am a big fan of Ivanka Trump, and if she ran for president, I would vote for her.
Yeah.
Because I want to go ahead and state right now, I am not a conservative or a Democrat or Republican or a liberal. I am not any of those. If I had to pick a party, I'm probably a libertarian. I believe in a smaller government, and I believe the government should really mind its own business.
Mhm.
Government's too powerful,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
I believe in a strong federal government as far as military goes.
Mhm.
And maybe as far as foreign intelligence gathering goes.
Yeah.
I do not believe in a powerful federal government that hoards its power over its population like Big Brother.
Right.
That bothers me. And that's kind of
Yeah.
why I live the way I live. I live on the road.
Hmm.
Travel from place to place. I work where I can work. And, and it's really the life for me because I feel like if I don't like the law, like I was recently in Oregon, it's a great place in the country. In the cities, it's extremely liberal. And there's a
Mhm.
lot of drugs. And they're giving their citizens the ability to do drugs wherever they want. It's crazy. And that, I mean,
As
yeah.
a, as a
I just say
paramedic, I've heard they give places where they call them safe havens, and Narcan is easily available.
yep. It's like you're promoting drug use. What
Yeah.
now? Not okay. If it's just a regular person, you know, single, no, not a mother or father, and they want to go get high, and one of your your government dope houses. Okay, I I am a libertarian. I have to say that's your right. What are you doing to the single mother that's doing this? What are you doing to her child? Are you taking her child and putting her in foster care? Are you gonna
Mm.
let her go home to that kid? Is she going to go home to that kid?
Probably let them go home.
You know,
Yeah.
you're adding problems. There's got to be levels of responsibility, and the government has to be able to control certain things. I mean, I don't believe that drugs should be legal. I just don't. There are some drugs, and I'm not going to say illegal, legal. I mean, there's some things that should be allowed. Uh, Marijuana, for instance. My father needs marijuana.
Mm.
He's a cancer patient. He's a veteran. He's got lots of medical stuff going on, and pot helps him. He's retired. He's not taking care of anybody but himself. He should be allowed to smoke some pot. He should be
Yeah.
allowed.
Yeah.
The government, and he is. Thankfully, they have prescriptions where he's living at, and he got a prescription, and he's good. That kind of stuff should be allowed under certain circumstances. But letting people do heroin in the street, that's
Yeah.
insane. And that's what they're doing in Oregon.
Mhm.
And I was, yeah,
It is
yeah,
insane.
I passed through there, and I was like, that's not,
Mm.
that's not stop. I went all the way up to Seattle, and Seattle's not much better.
No, it used to be a very beautiful city when I traveled frequently.
I, I used to love Seattle.
Seattle and Portland, I used to really love visit when
Hmm.
I was a flight paramedic.
Yeah.
Had some,
Okay.
great overnight stays there. Um,
Okay.
why do you think that they keep the border, or they want to keep the border open? Why is that such an issue? How come we don't want to protect
Our
ourselves?
our
All right.
sovereignty.
Border thing is actually more political than deep state. The deep state really doesn't care about the border. The deep state. So I'm going to speak on that from a that's more of the puppet show. And
Okay.
here's the reason that the puppet show is important, because as long as we're focused on that, we're not looking at what they're doing.
Mm.
So
So
it's a
we're looking at a
distraction.
border crisis, and the border crisis is a dangerous situation. They're
It
letting it,
is. Yeah.
but on the side, they know that these illegals that are coming in, if they can come in and get the right to vote, they're going to vote for and honestly, the liberal movement right now is the movement the deep state wants in office.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that eventually they won't want the conservative movement in office, but right now this is who they want in office. They want They want the liberal movement. To get the
Yeah.
votes for that, they need more voters, and they need to
True.
move them into areas that are conservative to try and flip states. That's the
Right.
only reason they're
Right.
doing it right now. It's an election year. After the
Yeah.
election's over,
Yeah.
you're going to see a lot. Even if Trump is not reelected, you're going to see the border crisis completely go away from the media after.
Of course.
The whole goal right here is to keep Trump out of office. If they can flip a state like Texas with illegals, and I don't think they can right now. It's
Mm.
just too late. The election laws in Texas are already pretty firm, but you have other states where they're not. Like if they can get them in to Nevada, they can keep Nevada blue. If they can get them into New Mexico, I don't know. I don't know if New Mexico. I think Arizona. One of those is going to go Democrat no matter what.
Arizona, they're trying to do Arizona, I think.
Doing a lot of polling, looking at the polls.
Yeah.
But a lot of it has to do with that. They're trying to keep the blue states blue because they can't afford for them to flip. And
Does it
you're going to see a lot of them, a lot of these migrants and that's why it was such a nightmare whenever the governor of Texas started shipping them to New York and Chicago because that's not where they want them to go.
right?
You're putting them in, first off, you're putting them in heavy
Blue
blue
states.
territory already, so
Mhm.
you're not going to affect the election with that.
Right,
It's not
right.
helping the agenda of the election.
Mhm, mhm.
So what is done what it has actually done though by doing that, it is kind of genius, is it's turned the black community in these inner cities against the Democrats because now you're
Mhm.
taking these
Yes.
community centers from African Americans
Yep,
who are
yep,
American citizens, and those are
yeah.
their places for their kids to go after school, safe
Mhm.
places. The city governments are taking these places and making homeless shelters for immigrants
Yeah, yeah.
instead of putting them on a bus and sending them back to where they came from.
Right,
I'm
right.
sorry that your country sucks. It's bad. I know it's bad, but it's bad because you're letting it be bad.
Well,
If
most
you
of
can
them are
travel
coming here for jobs,
wherever it's bad at,
work.
Yeah.
if it's cartels or whatever, to try and travel over the border, then you can travel somewhere else in your country where it's not so bad. Baja,
Mhm,
Mexico is not bad. Acapulco, Mexico is not bad.
mm-mm.
If you can travel to the United States of America, you can travel to one of those places
It's true.
and get a good job and make money. But the
Yeah,
incentives to come to America, with the handouts that are being given out, that's what's drawing them here. We need to stop giving handouts to illegal immigrants, and they'll stop coming.
mhm.
But that's just a puppet show. All of it's a puppet show. It's all for us to look at and argue about and be divided on, so that we're not watching Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer uh, drinking and smoking while their stock portfolios grow and grow from taking our taxpayer dollars and buying billions of dollars in military equipment at a company that they own stakes in and sending it over to Ukraine. That's
Yeah,
it's a puppet show.
I agree.
They don't care one way or the other. Mitch McConnell don't care about the border. Chuck Schumer don't care about the border. They only care that we're looking at the border.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. We all agree with that. It's
Yeah,
Because if we're looking there, we're not looking elsewhere.
media is a powerful
Mhm.
tool, and the media is run by the deep state.
yeah.
Yes.
So I'm gonna ask, how far down do you think that goes? And I have got an opinion on that also, but mine is recently I've been doing a little DJ work. I don't do the programming of the music or the lineup, but I see a theme. I see a theme
Hmm.
in all the music that's being played right now. And I'm thinking this is an independent station and they're still being told what to do, what they can and can't play. And we're
Yep,
playing songs that encourage war.
that's
Oh,
correct.
really?
We are.
Yeah. If
We're
you,
we're we're playing songs that are encouraging division.
yes, we are.
Oh, ooh.
Mhm.
And I didn't realize that until I've been playing DJ, like I said, and I really hope I'm not jeopardizing that because I love doing that. But I've noticed the theme of even the music in an independent station that we are having to play, and it's
Yep.
subliminal. But if you're
Hmm.
smart and you research what the
Mm,
song means, what the artist meant when he wrote it, what the singer that is putting out the lead vocals, what his intentions are with it, subliminally, you see there's an underlying theme. It's like they say, the drumbeat of war.
Well, it comes down to who's financing it.
Yeah,
The banks.
yeah,
If you want that loan to grow your business, you're going to do what the bank wants you to do. And if you are in media, guess what? You're going to push the agenda that they want you to push if you want that money for your
mm,
company.
yeah,
It's the way that the world is working right now. Like Chuck Schumer is trying to interfere in an Israeli election,
mhm.
trying to force an Israeli election
Yep,
when we complained about Russia interfering with our election.
yep.
You know what I'm saying? There's a double standard going on here, and
It always has been.
it's all allowed because the deep state sanctions it.
How many elections has the US
All right with it? Let it
tampered
ride.
with?
That's it. Doesn't
yeah,
matter if it's right or wrong. It's whatever the media is going to cover it in the light that they wanted to cover it in. and it's troubling that people have to watch it and see it, and they know it's bullshit. Excuse
Mhm.
me.
No, you're
I
fine.
don't know.
Sure.
I don't know if you're. I don't know if your
We're
station or
recording.
wherever you rated or not.
No, I always put an explicit rating, and this probably will never see the FM radio waves. So even so, you still didn't break the rules. So that's
Okay.
that's not one of the 7 deadly words. So I'm learning.
No.
Yeah, I don't use those if I can help it.
Good, good. I'm learning not to actually. As a firefighter, it was a tool that we used
Mm.
quite.
Yeah.
Um, we look around and we see these things. There's war in Ukraine, there's war in Israel, and now there's wars over on other soils that we're just learning about that have been going on for a long time. And so, do you think that these people that control everything? I guess my question would be more precisely: is there someone in each part of the world that controls this, and they're somehow in communication, or and this is all orchestrated?
My honest opinion is, I think it's the head of the banks around the world, the world banks.
Okay,
I
That's
really
what
do.
I
I think that they are the head of the deep state, and you can't cut the head off that state because everything will fall apart if you do. They position themselves in a place where the only people that can cut their head off is themselves through the government that they control.
it's true. Dina, what was your question?
Do you think that the green agenda, going green, like the uh, getting rid of meat and going to electric vehicles and um, restricting gas, restricting oil and coal and all that, is to limit people's mode of travel and length of travel or area of travel, and also to sorry, this is a long question, and also to possibly eventually cull some of the population.
Oh, good question. Dina's wanting to know about the green agenda, where they basically are telling us what we don't want you eating meat. We don't want you driving vehicles that aren't electric. Her question is: do you think that that's to control our mobility, or maybe even decrease our population?
And that has to do with population control. Definitely population control.
That's what I thought.
They want us. They want us to. Honestly, they want us to stop having children. They don't want us to die. I'm not saying that they want us
Sure.
to just kill ourselves, but uh, my beliefs on the topic of the like green energy. All right, green energy is actually not a bad idea. I have solar panels on my RV. Works great. They're really pricey though,
Hmm.
and there's a reason they want you to spend that money. They probably own stock in the companies that are putting this green energy out. The solar panel companies, you know the companies that make the green energy. I'm pretty sure that if you look at the stock portfolio of our Congress, they're probably heavily invested in that, and that's why they want us to spend our money on it.
Mhm.
That's why they want to spend our tax dollars on it. So anytime that politicians are pushing something like that, you look at their stock portfolio.
Yeah. Yeah.
As far as the meat and all that goes, that's just somebody trying to control somebody else, which is what our government is great at.
Mhm.
They need to step back and realize that every American citizen, every person in the world, really should have their own choice of what they want to eat and how they want to eat it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
As long as it's food, eat it. Put that disclaimer. As long as
Yeah. Yeah.
No, no, and when I traveled, I learned that there's different food in all kinds of parts of the world I didn't know about.
yeah,
So,
Yeah.
yeah. If you want to eat a steak, eat a steak.
you say
It's not the
absolutely.
government's right to tell you you can't.
Right. But they're trying to get rid of the
You want to eat
cows.
vegetables, eat vegetables. That's
Do
that's,
you,
that's your business.
how far back do you think we'll say in American history that this all began? I know Reagan was key to creating FEMA. He was one of our best presidents in one way, but he was the pretty much key to creating FEMA. You think it went before him even?
Oh yeah.
Well, I think the current deep state that we're dealing with is a deep
Kennedy,
state that
Johnson.
subverted a former deep state. I think we had a deep state during the Cold War that was running things. That was more of a government-run thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that this newer modern one really came out in the 90s.
Mhm.
I think because the 90s, if you remember, that was really a big turning point in American culture. Because
Yeah.
I'm talking about race relations were really good in the 90s.
Yes.
Mhm.
There was not much division.
No.
No,
I
not
remember
at
growing
all.
up and seeing movies like Lethal Weapon and Chris Tucker did a movie with Jackie Chan. I can't remember
Yeah.
what it's called,
Yeah.
but you had good race relations through from Hollywood to the music industry to television. There was good race relations. You know, it
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
a you can't do this because you're an African American. You can't do that.
Mhm.
They weren't pushing this agenda on these people. They were letting them know you are just as good as everybody else. There was
And
no tearing down one group to build another up.
Right.
It was,
Right.
we were really on the right track in the 90s,
Mhm.
and something just happened. And I can't figure out what it is. I've been looking at that time era to try and figure out what shifted in our culture to turn it into this racially fueled division that we're currently sitting in. And I can't find it. But we were good in the 90s, the early
I
90s.
Yeah.
I've said this multiple times. I grew up just outside of Washington D.C. and I graduated. My actual high school I graduated from was just outside of Washington D.C. Spoke 13 different languages when we graduated. The
Oh
students,
wow.
Mhm.
and we had no problems. We didn't fight each other. We didn't knife each. Oh, you got people are going to fight all the time, but it wasn't like you see today.
Right.
And
Right.
I grew up in Virginia Beach.
oh,
I'm
okay,
not that far from you. Yeah,
yeah.
I grew up in
I
Virginia
was
Beach.
down. Well, I was in
Yeah,
Fairfax, if you know where that is. So
yeah,
just outside of
yeah.
DC. Yeah, that's home.
Oh, you're my homeboy. I didn't know that.
that's that's my original home was um Fairfax, Virginia, Mount Vernon to be more specific. That's why I
Okay.
was always when I grew up, I was always fascinated with the founding fathers, the American history, and even if a lot of people don't, if I think education, as far as I knew more about those things in the Civil War than I did about history of the Oregon Trail or the Indians suffering and things like that because of just where I grew up. So I think that that's been compartmentalized for a long time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
well, in fact, I couldn't graduate because my mom divorced during my high school years, and I split time between two high schools. I could graduate from one high school, but I couldn't graduate from the other one because I didn't have enough credits. Even though I'd met all the requirements for the state of Tennessee, I hadn't met them for Virginia. So it was kind of a weird thing, but I
That's
think that we've
crazy.
even compartmentalized our education. And I will go as far as telling you in my education, I did not learn a single thing about the Vietnam War, the Korean conflict. It was not in my history books. It was not talked about. It was not taught. It wasn't until I got out that I
Wow.
learned
Wow.
there's a whole generation that's my mom's age that people died in the war. What the hell? It was just never talked about. I did not know about it.
That's right.
Neither did my friends. It was not, I don't know if it was because we lost the war. I know I hate to say those words, but I, I don't know why it was, but we were never taught those things. So
Well, if you ask the government define lost, that's what they're going to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the government didn't lose, the American citizens lost the
Yes.
Vietnam.
that is true. That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
because
what
at
do
the end of the
you
day,
go ahead?
oh, okay. I got this woman on an intercom. I'm sorry,
You can hear
great
the kid.
a lounge, and she's on this microphone announcing something.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. Well, hopefully you're safe.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
I'm good.
okay, cool. So, some people I've even heard talk about that there have been alternate timelines in that era that you talk about, that somehow the timeline switched and we're in a different timeline. What do you think about that? Now,
Ah,
I'm going to be honest. I kind
Mandela effect.
of the Mandela effect. I kind of got my tinfoil hat on for this one. I don't know that I believe this
yeah.
far into it.
No, I don't. I don't think I would go that far either. What I'm thinking, but I'm thinking the government didn't really lose. As long as the government profited from the war, they didn't lose.
Mhm.
The people that lost were the soldiers that died.
Yeah.
They sacrificed a lot of people.
Mm,
And they
They
had a lot there was a lot of
got that.
PTSD out of
That's
the
not in the history books. Because what did we really accomplish in Vietnam? We didn't accomplish nothing. But a lot of people died.
mhm.
A lot of
And
people
everything
died.
that those soldiers
Accomplished
came home
nothing.
with.
Yeah.
Our legislators got rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you look at it through that lens, you can see why we went to Vietnam.
What is your thoughts on the 9/11 attacks?
Yeah. No comment.
Oh, dang. Come on, Keith.
It's funny that George Bush, the president of the United States, not junior but senior,
Sure.
yeah, senior, was the CIA director before he was a president, and
Mhm.
one of his best buddies was Osama bin Laden. And then when Bush Jr. comes in the office, Osama bin Laden is the guy that destroyed the Twin Towers.
What?
I'm, that's all I'm gonna say. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna say
I,
that
I
it
s-
was the government behind it. I'm just gonna say that it's just crazy that his father's best bud in Afghanistan, the guy that his go-to guy to run that area, suddenly, when the son was in office, was responsible for the greatest terrorist attack on our soil.
Hey, Glenn,
yeah,
ask him if he knew, Marvin Bush was
Yeah,
the like,
it's crazy to think that. And I'm not saying it didn't happen.
sure.
was
It could
the,
very well have happened exactly how they said it happened. I'm not an expert on 9/11.
Sure.
I just find it
Sh-
remarkably weird, a remarkably weird coincidence that it came from that direction,
Agreed.
and that we
Agreed.
didn't, and that we weren't able to stop it. That we weren't able to. Our intelligence agencies weren't smart enough to catch it before it
Six
happened.
box cutters. 6 box cutters. I mean, think about
Hmm.
it. That's
ask
what
him
they.
if
And I, I am, I'm not a badass. I'm not. But if you pull a box cutter on me, talking about you're going to take this plane over, and I'm just a passenger on the plane, you're going to kill me to do it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I
I'm just,
agree.
I'm just,
I agree.
I'm dedicated like that. I'm that guy. If I
And
see you with a box cutter and you're trying to take the plane over, and I'm just a passenger, like I said, I'm not a badass. But if I can get that blade secured, other passengers are going to come help me.
sure.
It just takes
Yeah.
one guy to stop something like that. I don't think that Americans are just cowardly enough to sit back and let guys with box cutters take over airplanes. I just
I
don't.
I
I
I
don't
agree
think a
with you.
pilot, I don't think the United States pilot, a commercial pilot, is
Sure.
cowardly enough to let somebody with a box cutter take a plane from them without killing them. And they may have. I'm sorry. I don't want to disrespect the memory of these people because I don't know
Oh,
what happened to them. And I may be over speaking here, so please forgive me if I am. I'm not, like I said, I'm not an expert on 9/11.
No.
But if I was a passenger on that plane, they would have had to kill me if I seen them box cutters before I let them get into a cabin with the pilots, because
mhm.
I I think I could take you if you had a box cutter. You might
Yeah.
cut me up, but I think I could take you. I'm
Right.
sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, no, I agree with you. And
Yeah.
as we just stated, that generation was a little bit different. Now,
Yeah.
this is coming from somebody in public safety. They used to teach you to defend yourself in situations
Mhm.
like that. And
Mhm.
now they're teaching the hide and run.
Yeah,
And if you look at
which
a
is
lot of these things that have occurred where there's a large number of casualties, it's because no one has taken, I don't want to say charge or command, or nobody has tried to really stop it. They've kind of just stood there and had their phones out, or they've run.
Right. Yeah.
it's like
A-
I
And
was working at a trade school, right? I was working
Mhm.
in a trade school. I wasn't an instructor. I was more of a assistant for like people with learning disabilities, and I help them, with the stuff. But it's kind of like a school setting. It's not really a school setting, but it kind of is. If they had an active shooter on that campus, I'm not the guy that's going to run. I'm just not.
Mhm.
It's. I guess it just takes a certain kind of person. I know as a first responder, you have have that kind of training. I don't have any kind of training
Same.
in that. I just know that an ink pen is a good improvised stabbing device.
Yeah.
There's plenty of ink
Everything
pens
is
in a school,
Yeah.
everything
and
is a
Yeah.
weapon. Yeah. Yeah.
and there's a lot of corners. There's a lot of corners in a school building. I'm looking at it tactically. There's a lot of corners in a school building.
Yeah.
A lot of hallways with corners and doors. This guy's got to come through that door to get to me. If I'm
Mhm.
standing right next to that door when he comes in and I have an ink pen,
It's
I
gonna
may
be
get shot, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna get my well placed pen into his eyeball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's gonna have one less
I
eye to
mean,
see with.
more Americans need to step up.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have that anymore in the generation coming up. It's
no,
they've been taught to run and cower and let the government take care of
exactly.
them, and that's the message. That's the message. We're not standing up for ourselves anymore. We're letting the government do it for us. And as long as the
Right.
government's
Right.
going to stand up for us, the government's going to take our freedom from us. That's the ultimate outcome. That's like
Sure.
taking guns. Eventually, they're
Yeah.
going to do it. It's a sad reality. They're going to. I'm not saying they're going to succeed. They're going to try.
They're gonna
Yeah.
try. I don't
They're
think it'll
going to
ever
try.
happen.
I mean, they're already trying. It's
Yeah.
eventually they're going to take. They're going to enact laws, and hopefully there will be states like Texas and hopefully
Tennessee.
Alaska that will fight against that.
Yeah.
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 If they don't have
'Cause,
enough people planted there, agreed. Yeah.
yeah, I don't see it being feasible in Alaska. It's pretty wild up there. You
Yeah,
know,
I've heard stories. Shay, you had a
yeah.
question?
Well, it was more of a statement than anything
Okay.
that, as coming from the generation that was in kindergarten during 9/11, the year after us was when everybody turned tail and run on everything, because you could, like, I mean, granted, I did grow up in West Virginia, and we were going to fight you till the end, but like years right after us was when everything was turn tail and run.
Mhm.
I don't
Oh,
understand that. I mean,
Shay was pointing out that she was in kindergarten during 9/11, and that basically her generation was taught to stand up for yourself, and then from past her, behind her, they're now running or cowarding.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You're there. There is a, what do you call it? A paradigm switch. There has been
Paradigm.
something
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
And
not
it
good.
happened right around the turn of the century.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it happened right around the turn of the
Yeah,
century.
you're
And I
absolutely right.
can't I
Yeah.
can't put my finger on when it happened and what where the pivot point was. It wasn't just one period, one day it happened. It was over a course of time, but it happened. It happened. I'm sorry, I'm getting more announcements in the background.
It's okay. Go ahead. I can't hear 'em.
There's I guess some
They
guy
can't
left
hear
his
me.
in the gas filling station. It's kind of it's a crazy world, man. It's a crazy world. I love it though.
Absolutely. Um, well, now let's talk about. There's also been people saying that the real president isn't there. That the person that's an actor is there. There's somebody playing the part of.
Actually, my older brother is a big fan of that theory.
What do you
Yeah,
think about that? I kind
Hey,
of.
wait. Ask him if that's the real. If he thinks that's the
I
real
think
Joe
that if it was
Biden.
an actor, he wouldn't be doing such a bad job.
Yeah, Dina wants to know if you think that was the real Joe Biden. So,
I think it is. I think it's real Joe Biden. I think he's got dementia. I think it's sad. I think it's early stages. No, I think it's actually mid stages
mid
dementia. I don't
stages,
think it's
yeah,
late stages. It's mid
I.
stage. I've actually dealt with people with dementia. I've worked with people with uh,
yeah.
early stage dementia right before they had to retire, and it's a sad thing to have to to really help them do their job because they can't, but they can't retire because they're not there yet. And
His
so,
Financially, he is.
his
yeah,
ears are
so I
totally
actually helped the guy the last year of his career to get to retirement so he could retire, and he knew he had it, and my job was pretty much just to keep him on track.
yeah.
And
I mean, I
they
believe he does have dementia.
uh,
Yeah.
His
Yeah.
his ears are totally different. I mean, from when he was
he,
younger, he's
now
got a an
yes,
attached
I didn't get
earlobe
my
on the right and a
honestly the best
detached
thing.
earlobe on the
That's one of
left.
the winners election. That's one of the things that they're going to lose based on is the fact that even his own DOJ says he's got dementia.
I know.
The
That's great.
the best thing they could do if they wanted to have any chance to win is replace him in the general election, and they can't because the only person they can replace him was Kamala Harris, and her numbers are worse than his are.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm not really a big fan of hers, but I'm not against her. I think that she toes the line, just like the majority of politicians. Like I said,
Not smart.
I don't really care for any of the politicians in DC. The only reason I like Trump is because he's like the big middle finger to the establishment.
And that's kind of my thoughts on it too.
That's the only reason I like him.
Teddy Roosevelt brought a bat. I don't know what Trump's carrying, but I think he's got some cojones. And
Right.
I may not agree with everything the man says, but I respect that
Absolutely
the man
not.
says it, and I respect that he, even if he does say it, he backs it up, which is phenomenal. Because most politicians will say, "Oh, I didn't say that. I never said that." But even if he does something absolutely asinine, people are like, "Yeah, okay, not really," and then we just move on. And I think
he owns it.
yeah,
he
he does.
it.
Yeah. And that was actually one of the things I learned from a member of one of the SEAL teams is not just to be a man, own your shit.
Yeah.
If you make a mistake, own your shit because we're
right.
going to. I'm human. I'm going to screw up. Is own it and then just move on. And that's one thing I do respect about it. But yeah, I'm not. I watched an interview. I think it was on BBC, and they were talking to one of the parliamentary members, and they said, "We love Trump." He said, "I don't understand why you hate him." He said, "Oh, sends mean tweets that hurts your feelings." What's that got to do with running a country?
Like I said, I'm not a fan of his asshole nature. I guess
yeah, there's no other way to put it. Agreed.
But I respect it. I respect the hell out of it. Hell, part of me wishes I could say that kind of stuff.
I do. No, I'm just kidding.
Like I said, I'm in a weird place.
I get it. Well, do you believe that any I take it that you're pretty much a believer in the deep state, that the banks are running it. You made a connection there that I had never seen. I don't know that Dina and Shay had ever put it together. I think it is a fascinating point. And we've touched on, you think there's probably people or bankers in each continent or country that are running the same thing. Do we think we have any extraterrestrial outside influences from anything? I mean, how far? Now, like I said, I wear tinfoil hat a lot of times and make fun of people, but I would be stupid if I stood here and told you that mathematically there's no way possible we're the only people in the known universe. Oh, we can't even say known universe because we don't know all the universe.
Yeah.
What's out there.
Well, I agree that there are probably extraterrestrials out there. Some of them are probably not as intelligent as us, and some of them are far superior than us. I agree with that. I'm not. And are we in contact with them? It's possible. Probable. Our AI is probably a direct result of their technology, our current AI. Because I mean, who was talking about AI before Roswell? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody was talking about a computer that thought for itself. Nobody was talking about computers.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no telling what technology we got from the Roswell incident. And there's no telling what technology we got out of Nazi Germany when we went in there.
Yeah.
Because
Paperclip.
I am firmly believe that Germany was in contact with some kind of extraterrestrial doing the things they were doing. I firmly believe that. I believe a lot of the things they were doing was in an agreement with them. I just
Yeah.
do. Now, I don't have a reason for why I believe. The technology that they have is so far advanced. They had jet engines
Mhm.
in operation during World War II. We were still using planes with propellers.
Props.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, props. We're still using prop planes. So I mean, it's insane to think that they had that technology back then. Where did they get it from? They
Yeah.
didn't just come up with that. They were educated by someone. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It was
Mhm. Well,
that's just my opinion.
that's that, and I agree because I've studied aviation history, and we had a supersonic jet in the late 40s. Think about that. What do we have now? I mean, you know what I'm saying? It may not be controlled by a human because they can't make decisions that rapidly. It may be AI. What do we have
Mhm.
now? You can't
Yep.
tell me. So,
Mhm.
so that's going to lead me to another question. Shay, I'm sorry. I may have overlooked you there, but I was going to ask, what do you think about NASA? Because we got a lot of stuff from Operation Paperclip, and I think it went directly to NASA.
Yep. Von Braun.
Mhm. Mm.
Von Braun brought a lot to NASA,
Yeah.
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 and he was SS. So I mean, he
Mhm.
was a Nazi,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
just gave
Yeah.
him a full pardon for his knowledge and let him pretty much develop our space program. And the funny thing is, a space program is supposed to be a private entity. It's not even supposed to be a government agency.
Ooh.
I understand NASA's not. It's supposed to be like privately owned. I'm not saying
Hmm.
I don't. No, I don't want to say privately owned. It's not a government agency. I don't
Yeah.
really know where NASA falls into it, and that's the funny thing, especially with the Space Force coming out.
Yeah.
'Cause, is the Space Force gonna eventually absorb what the government role that NASA played in the government?
I don't know.
And why did Space Force suddenly come out? I love Space Force, by the way. I think Space Force
Yeah.
is. I think it needed to happen, but
Agreed. I think
but
it had already
why did
kind of happened. We just needed to put a
it,
name on it.
it was under the flag of the Air Force?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But why did it take so long for us to officially recognize it as Space Force? That's actually in my novel. To go back to the novel thing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Shay had said she
I
started reading, and I'm guilty of
okay,
not having started, so I'll have to
that's
go
all
back
right.
and
But I named my school after Donald Trump in the
Oh.
book, and the reason I did it was because he created the Space Force.
Oh,
I,
cool.
I used the Space Force in the novel as a branch of the ship's military, and I kind of wanted to kind of like a works cited. I wanted to like give credit to the man that had taken that from and using. Yeah,
yeah. That's
yeah.
it's
But I love
true.
the Space Force. I think the Space Force is great, and I think that it was needed. And I actually think that anything dealing with extraterrestrials in the United States government is probably going to start going through the Space Force channel. The
Mm.
military is going to run lead on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Well,
really
it's
think. I don't think it's going to be the NSA or the CIA or the FBI. It's going to be. I think it's going to be strictly military. I think it's been military all along, and I think it's going to stay
Mhm.
military.
yeah. I think out of all the forces, Space Force will probably be the one that is the most powerful. And it's
Hmm.
funny.
I think it is.
Actually, he was just talking to somebody that is leaving a high-ranking position in another branch of the service. He's enlisted, and he's been told when he gets out, there's a job in the Space Force. You don't have to. We don't put anybody through boot camp. You don't have to do the huts and running. All you got to do is have college education and be willing to be trained.
Hmm.
And that's Space Force. It's different than Chair Force. At least in Chair Force, you had to
Now,
go through a
now,
boot camp.
who told?
Uh,
Not, I don't know if that's true as of today. I was looking at the Space Force not long ago. Uh, if you want to be an officer in the Space Force, I'm thinking that they're gonna send you through a officer candidate school. Yeah, it's true. It's only
Mhm.
like 6 weeks long. It's
yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
have to go through an academy
Yes,
like you
yes,
would
yeah,
the Air Force.
yeah,
But I think they have an officer training school.
yeah. Oh, yeah. He'd have
I
to
know
go
if you
through that.
enlist,
Yeah,
you have to go through Air Force boot camp right now. I
yeah.
actually was researching it. They're
Yeah,
making
you're correct.
and they're called Guardians instead of Airmen.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's I like I'm a comic book geek, so Guardians of the Galaxy.
It's pretty freaking cool.
I like that.
And this is you can go down this rabbit hole sometime. Comic books. How much influence did the CIA have in those? There's a rabbit hole there. I promise you.
Oh,
The
wow.
government created comic books. The government also had control of the comic book industry for a while. Came out of a remote viewing project. Think about that
It
for a
is.
minute.
Oh.
It is a way to brainwash your children.
Yeah.
Back in the 60s and 70s, that was the way to brainwash your children, because
Go down the
cartoons weren't
rabbit
really
hole.
a huge thing. Cartoons weren't really a big thing. Listen, the government is always going to look for a way to brainwash the next generation,
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
because
that
they
is
want that next
weird.
generation to follow in line with. If they
Yeah.
have a war planned, like if they're planning to have World War III in 20 years, they're going to start brainwashing the children that are
Mhm.
coming up, that are being born right now. They're
Mhm.
start brainwashing them to be more patriotic
Yep.
and more in line with stuff. I mean, look at all the stuff that was leading up to 9/11, and then 9/11 happened, and how many people joined the military to go over to Afghanistan?
Yeah.
And I'll throw this out there. You can say I'm a comic book geek. I made this statement to all my friends right after 9/11. You will not see a movie where we're going to go to war and we're going to shoot bad guys and with towels on their head or shooting Asians. You're going to see a boom of superhero movies. Boom. What happened?
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm.
wanted to take and draw the focus away on something
Mm-hmm.
else.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I know everybody's like, "Oh, well, you're just a comic book geek and you're just on a different rabbit hole." But
No,
it's
you're right. Listen,
it's
Disney.
entertainment. Jesus.
I am a firm believer, and I think I can't prove it because I don't have the information in front of me. But if somebody was to pull up who owns stock in Disney, you're going to
Oh.
find CIA shell corporations,
Oh yeah. If you actually do
and
the
that's
Disney
why
tree, they
Disney,
own them so much stuff.
and
It's
that's why
unbelievable.
Disney is pushing this agenda that the deep state wants pushed. They want this
Mm.
pushed because they want right now they want the population docile.
Weak.
They want the population to count on the government to take care of them. We want the
Yes.
government to take care of us, and if we want these rights, the government will let us have these rights. And if somebody picks on us, the government's going to tell them they have to stop. And it's I don't have to take care of myself. The government's going to take care of me, and all they want in return is my loyalty. So I support the government. That's what the government wants right now,
Mhm.
which makes me feel like they don't have plans for a World War III right now. There's no reason to, because right now they're united. They're all making money and they're united. And I mean, I think the whole COVID thing was a throw off. That was
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
and it had to do with owning pharmaceutical stock. That was them
Absolutely.
saying, "Let's see if we can get everybody to drink the Kool-Aid. Let's see if they're
Yeah.
ready."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
50% of the country said, "I'm not drinking that Kool-Aid."
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
wouldn't get the shot. Guess what? They said, okay, so they're like, okay, they're not ready yet. So let's go ahead and do some more. And I think in 20 years you'll have another pandemic come out, and we'll see what happens with that. And the big thing is they have to get rid of all the guys my age, all the guys and gals in my
Well,
generation.
Yeah.
was the
Because
famous
once
Hollywood celebrity once said all the old white people need to die. So,
Yes.
uh, once
so
that happens, it's going to be a different world.
It
I mean,
will.
that's when they take the guns away. That's when they'll, because kids like me, or I call myself a kid, guys like me, when I was a kid, uh, we grew up playing with toy guns.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I doubt that happens anymore. I don't see it happen anymore.
That's gonna be Gen
Well,
X.
what, Dina?
That's gonna be Gen X.
Oh, she was asking if you were Gen X.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. All right. Well, I'll be honest. I still don't know what Gen I am. I think I'm kind of in
You're Gen
between.
X.
I don't know what political party I fall
Well,
in either
what
because I
when
don't
were
know
you
that I agree
born?
with any of them. I was born in '67, so
You're Gen X.
Oh yeah, you're before Gen X.
No, you're Gen X. I was
No,
66 and I'm Gen X.
I'm not baby boomer. You're between. I don't know. I don't know what you are.
yeah.
I
Well,
don't know the generation between baby boomers and
I
Gen
don't
X.
either.
Baby boomers stop at 65.
That's right.
Oh, baby, Dina is correcting us, is saying baby boomers start at 65.
Stop
So
at 65.
Okay.
stop at 65. Okay, so
Yeah.
I wasn't a baby boomer. It's good. I did make a lot of babies though. But that's another story.
All right. Well, I didn't make any that I know of.
Yeah.
Well, but you're still living life as an American and enjoying it, so that's cool. Shay,
Yeah.
did you have any
Trying to.
questions? You've been quiet there for a while.
So I'm curious with as he's said about like the whole puppet show and everything, what is his opinion on what's actually going on with Area 51?
No, good question. She's like asking about what your opinion is basically with what's going on with Area 51 or a similar area that we're being distracted from. What do you think the bigger
Yeah, don't go
picture
there.
is?
They'll arrest you.
Yeah.
Don't even go by there. They'll arrest you.
Yeah.
Let them do whatever they're doing. No, that's a secret underground base controlled by, I think, the Space Force now. It was the Air Force, but I think it's the Space Force now. And whatever they got going on there, they say it's I don't think that, listen, whatever was at Area 51 is not there no more.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
literally probably just a testing ground for new aircraft.
They've
That's
moved
probably what they're
everything
doing there
they
now.
wanted.
Whatever was there has been moved. I think they have another base similar to that in Ohio,
Mhm.
that's underground, that nobody really knows about.
Yeah.
And it was an
Yeah.
Air Force base. It's now a Space Force base, and it's publicly a Space Force base. I think I have to go online and look to see what Space Force bases are in Ohio. But there's one in Ohio, and I think that, and it was all moved.
Yeah.
It was all put in cargo containers and moved. This is a belief. This isn't I know, I wasn't there. I don't know. This is all based on theories that I've heard from other people that sound good and make sense. Because if
I've heard
you
that
have
too.
alien
Yeah.
technology at Area 51, you're not going to keep it there if everybody knows it's there. You're going
Right.
to move it.
Right.
Well,
That way, eventually, when it becomes declassified, you can bring everybody in and be like, look, there's no alien stuff here.
yeah, exactly. Well, they used to classify different government facilities because, like I said, I grew up outside of DC. Fort Belvoir was always called Fort Belvoir, but at one point in time, it had a quote area. I forget, it was like Area 52 or 50. It had a designation. I can go back and look it up for where they did secret squirrel program. And there's still places on Fort Belvoir that
Mhm.
I've never been, and you'll never be able to get to go.
Yeah.
My
Mhm.
grandparents
Yeah,
got in there, but that's another story. But
Yeah.
yeah, so
Because I don't think necessarily the area, like Area 51, is a base by itself. It's on a bigger base. It's just an area on the
Just
base.
the area. Yeah.
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. I do know that, and I don't know if they ever changed the designation after 9/11. They circled a bunch of areas in Fort Belvoir and basically cut one end of the county off from the other. You had to go into Maryland and come back to Virginia to go back up to go into the other part of uh, Fairfax.
wow.
They
No,
cut
they
the
took
whole
evidence.
county.
Yeah.
No, they sealed it. They said civilians can no longer transfer because roads went across Fort Belvoir,
Yeah.
but they did, you couldn't get off and look and stop and see the scenery, but they went through the base. After 9/11, the day after, they closed those roads off, and so you could no longer go on them
Why?
That's crazy.
because it was for our safety.
That's what they say. That's
The
the
neighborhood
biggest lie that
across
they tell
from
you.
me, the neighborhood
Yeah.
across
Yeah.
from me, I went to school with the
Your
kids,
safety.
grew up with them, walked over there, played with them, just
Mhm.
across the street. It was the Fort Belvoir. After 9/11, you couldn't cross the street, you couldn't go over there. Both sides of the entrance to the neighborhood were sealed off, and you had to have permission. Eventually, a fence was put up. Used to be a huge jogging trail. There was a pond back there I fished in all my life growing up. Can't do it anymore. 9/11, that's
Wow. That's crazy.
yeah,
I'm
they
gonna.
took more
I'm.
control than you thought of. So sorry.
Yeah. I'm gonna. Well, I'm gonna give you this last thing, then I'm gonna have to go. Okay.
Okay, yeah, and I appreciate your time.
Because we're coming up on 2 hours.
Oh gosh, yeah, we are. Just looked up there and saw
so-
that.
So here we go. This is the last one. And I don't remember. I think it was Benjamin Franklin. I could be wrong, but the giving up your freedom for security is the biggest mistake we can make in America.
Yeah.
and I hope I'm not misquoting, and I'm not saying the wrong person, but as one of our founding fathers said, we should not give up our freedom for security. We have to be able to protect ourselves. We can't count on the government to do it for us. And with
Great.
that, I'm Keith Yagerman, and I gotta go.
And you are out. Well,
You
Keith,
guys have a
Thank
good
you.
one, right?
I appreciate it. And when you get that book done, you and I already talked about that. I want to help
Yep.
you with that. So good
Yep.
luck to you.
And you're
Safe
gonna.
travels.
Tell him thank you for both.
Bye bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Okay, well. Wow.
That was more mind-blowing than I thought it was going to be.
You're
Yeah.
telling me.
And I didn't. Yeah, I saw the expression on your face, and I didn't even have my tinfoil hat wearing person here. Kind of
We
funny.
wouldn't have been able to get a word in. Well,
Okay,
he couldn't hear him, but
You're gonna have to cut this part out.
I could have muted her. So, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Let's go
No,
ahead.
you're gonna have to cut this point out of what I'm about to say.
That's what I'm saying. Hold on. We're gonna
hold
play
on,
the
we'll
song
just go off.
in this. So,
We'll just go
ladies and
out.
gentlemen, this has been a special edition. We ran a little bit long. Thank you for tuning in. Oh, I've got a cat in the room and didn't know it. Just scared the living hell out of me. My cat is up here. He's not happy. He's locked in. We will see everybody on the next regularly scheduled show. Everybody have a great night, great day, great morning, whatever it is, wherever you are. Sportcat, Dina, and Shay are going to have some great conversations once we hit the stop recording button.
Yeah.
And maybe you'll find out about them. Unfortunately, I think I gave up a lot of information about the Sportcat in this episode.
If I don't lose my mind after this.
Remember, all I want is clothing law.
You have to come check me out at the mental institute.
According to some people, I've already been there.
We'll never know. We'll never know.
3, 2, 1, Sportcat out. Good night, everybody.